beeping. And we are outside of the district building in Davenport, Iowa, fighting against institutionalized, federally funded, and approved child abuse. There is nothing else to call it. The people here, the parents here, are going to be citing studies showing how harmful masks are to children. And quite frankly, if you haven't figured out with common sense that masking children is child abuse, you may yourself be mentally ill at this point. I don't know what else to say to you. These are our kids. They need touch. They need facial recognition. They need a thing called oxygen. And you have so many double standards. For instance, this weekend, how many college football games, how many stadiums were filled to the max with parents and their children? No masks, touching, hugging, celebrating. Yet when they go into school, they have to be masked up, they have to be socially distanced. My own niece in Bettendorf, which I'm right on the cusp of Davenport, when does she have to wear a mask? Well, she has to wear a mask on the bus ride in between her school and her music lessons. So she gets on the bus with all the kids she's been with all day maskless, okay, and played with all day maskless, puts on, the slave attire, gets on the bus, goes less than half a mile, takes the mask off, and then goes and gets her music lesson, because this has absolutely nothing to do with health. And I'm joined by one of the concerned parents right now. You have quite the folder of information there that you're going to try to present to these board members so that you can present them with facts, not fear.
Scientific studies from around the world.
Actual data, and not Bernaysian talking points like pandemic of the unvaccinated, alone together, 2 weeks to slow the spread, remember that one,
right,
or flatten the curve?
This turned into 18 months, but this is propagated. It's political. They didn't read the science. They didn't know they mandated this mask event, okay? Mandates are like edicts. We don't have edicts in this country. We're a country of laws, okay? And we're a country of people. We don't have emperors. We don't have kings. That's where edicts come from, all right? So the law said you cannot mandate a mask. So now, because of a lawsuit, or I think there's 10 people, 11 people throughout the state, they're afraid of losing money, but what they're not afraid of is all the student unenrollment in this city. And they've lost far more money from that than they are probably from this lawsuit.
And remember, this was a federal judge that came in and authoritatively just said, no, if a district wants to mandate these things, they can happen. And all of a sudden, despite the fact that we had a governor that said no to this,
right,
it's been overturned, and they went after Davenport, Iowa. Why? Because it is the largest in the area, not only Scott County, but outside of Des Moines, which they went after first.
One of the parents is from Davenport, so that's how we got on the hook for allowing that restraining order to remove Governor Reynolds' law to not mandate a mask. So now, when they did that, that opened it up for them to mandate a law per district. Since Davenport is involved with one of the parents that is involved in that lawsuit, they decided to mandate the mask.
Which again gives total disregard for the children, their health, their development.
Right.
And as I was discussing with you, even last year when I moved here with my family and my two nieces, I was abhorred by the fact that we didn't have in-person learning like they did before.
Correct.
I was kind of encouraged that there were certain places you could sign them up for extracurricular activities, aka sports, where there were no masks. Again,
Right.
they could be with children.
Right.
So you're seeing right there the dichotomy of what's real and what's propagated. But then when they let them go back to school, well, what did they have? They had a mask. Initially, when my niece was learning the clarinet, they had a mask with a hole in it so she could play through the hole in the mask with the good training.
Right.
But how you really knew it wasn't about health is that they were rewarding children with maskless time.
Training them to dehumanize themselves.
Think about this.
Following rules. They're resilient, as Dr. Beck said in the voting. The children are resilient. They follow the rules. It's the parents they're concerned with. And you should be concerned with these parents because we're critical thinkers. We know that the rules that you're following are not for all. Okay? Yeah, they're going to be mannerful. They're going to be decent human beings. Why? Because the ones you're concerned about, we raised them. Simple as that.
Absolutely. And the idea of rewarding a child with breathing just shows you once again how much it's not about health and it's about control.
You dehumanize it.
You now have the Department of Justice that has made the announcement that domestic terror threats are parents that may attend some of these very school board meetings that you're daring to attend.
Correct.
And it's not only frightening because you have an out-of-control Department of Justice. I could call it the Department of Injustice anyway.
Or the Federal Bureau of Intimidation.
Absolutely. And they've always protected their upper echelon criminals and always protected the programs where they had people like Jeffrey Epstein, for instance, involved in government intel. We now know that as a indisputable fact. We know that the FBI was reported to Epstein in 1996 in New York, and we don't have that Palm Beach case until 2007. And somehow our Department of Justice, remember Bill Barr actually worked for Kirkland and Ellis, one of Epstein's law firms, and said he may actually recuse himself. Never did, by the way. We couldn't stop Epstein from killing himself twice. That's the Department of Justice.
Right.
Now, this same Department of Justice that is not only trying to criminalize your behavior, they're actually trying to go beyond that by saying you're a domestic terrorist. And then you have no due process.
Sounds like a playbook play to me.
It does to me as well.
That's all I've seen. You can see that they keep going in this room where there's a big shelf stack of plays. Ever since this whole thing started last year, it's like they just keep rolling out all this stuff to keep people at each other. We should be together throughout this whole thing. We might have turned it around a year ago, but they throw so much at us in the last 18 months that everybody's so distracted, and then some people just give up. They don't want to fight no more. They don't have the intestinal fortitude to continue to fight. But when it's children involved and it's children's futures involved, there's no excuses. Maximum range of an excuse is 0 meters.
I agree there.
There you go.
I think that the big problem also is that some of these people can't actually believe that their government would be working in such a nefarious manner against their own citizens. You know, they still want to believe it's the red, white, and blue, that even though our senators, our congressmen, and now our local institutions are completely corrupt.
But Jason, that's who you and I are. We're the red, white, and blue, not them. Okay?
We're supposed to be the government, too. That's the whole thing. This is supposed to be a government formed by the people. It was founded on the idea of checks and balances, a judicial and executive and a legislative branch. And we've now gone so far beyond this through these mandates, through these dictates, through the direction of a global body called the United Nations that I promise you doesn't have your constitutional rights in their thoughts whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
you try to rule by executive order, you just became a king. And that's why there's 3 branches. Tiebreaker is what they basically set up.
And I hope to one day have those 3 branches back. I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to go talk to some of the other folks here. You're going to be speaking, though, before I do that, inside, and let people know exactly what's in that folder. What are you going to be talking about?
What I found was a PMC article, which is public accessible. It's on the NIH.gov website, and it specifically is a scientific studies of mask wearing. Okay, is it effective or is it not effective? There's so many studies in these 56 pages, and I have to narrow it down to a 2-minute speech, basically. So I went after the heart of it, and the studies as recent as of 2020, they did a study of 6,000 people, okay? 3,030 of them were mask wearers, 2,994 were non-mask wearers. There was no significant difference of viral spread. So the masks are not helping. It makes you feel good, and they're just using it as propaganda for fear.
And again, that same UN body and all these authoritative sources are telling you that the flu disappeared for more than a year. Remember, viruses, guys, they don't come in different sizes. They don't come in different sizes. So you believe what you want. We're going to be inside. It starts at 6. You still have time to make it if you are in the Davenport, Iowa area. Again, we're going to go down the line. Thank you so much for what you're doing, brother. Yes, absolutely. So tell me why you're here, guys.
We're here to fight the mask mandate here in Davenport, Iowa. We want the ability to be able to choose whether our kids have to wear the mask. We don't want to force them. We're also here because my wife Hannah here is running for school board. She's a write-in candidate. Unfortunately, we didn't get the ability to put her on the ballot right away. So we're trying to.
And I'm sure they tried to curb that ability in every way that they did. Good.
Absolutely.
They actually had the vote on the mask mandates the very last day that best possible type of event.
And as I discussed with the other gentleman, they're now trying to have closed door meetings for the entire county
Correct.
on these matters, basically so they can subvert any kind of democratic process, any kind of dissidents speaking out against what will eventually become just authoritarian federal dictates for money. I mean, that's what these are. These are authoritarian federal dictates for money that they've pretty much already decided they're going to be beholden to, but they want to codify it into law by having closed door meetings. That's not a government formed by the people, is it?
No, it's not. Absolutely not.
No,
We
it's
need to be able
not.
to share our voice and speak out and push, not only push our belief, but keep the freedom. We want to be able, that's why the campaign that we're going against is the Freedom to Choose campaign. We want the ability to choose what parents feel is best for our children, not what the school board decides.
Absolutely, and obviously, you now have the DOJ threatening people like you who want to be involved in your family's lives, who would dare question the authoritarians that are really at the work or the behest of a predator class by not only criminalizing your behavior, which has never been criminalized before, the First Amendment, but then going a step further and trying to call you a domestic terrorist so they can subvert all of your due process.
Correct.
And, if there's anything more un-American than trying to make parents terrorists for loving their kids, I don't know what it is.
It's unbelievable.
Something that people need to remember is because of the Patriot Act, once you're labeled a terrorist and they classify you as a terrorist, you have no rights. So if that were to make it through right now, we would be domestic terrorists standing out here just because we want to be able to choose what is best to go inside of our children's bodies and on our children's bodies.
It's a crazy time. I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. You know how to support me, but we're going to be updating this. We're going to be taping inside. Lo and behold, I don't get kicked out. We'll find out. But if not, we're going to be putting it up probably both at YouTube and Rockbin. I know that might be a little risky on YouTube, but hey, we did this video. So thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. The links are down below to support me. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.